I'm Roy Smith. Welcome to my layout. On December 23rd, I uploaded a video called Amtrak Station at Green River and on my layout part 1. In that video, I unboxed a replica of the former Amtrak station at Green River, Wyoming, which my good friend David Rarick built and sent to me. If you haven't seen that video, I hope you'll take a look at it. I'll post a link to it in the description of this video down below. Now, here in part 2, we're going to take a closer look at the station and how my friend David built it. First, though, let's take a quick look at the prototype. The station is by far the most prominent railroad structure at Green River, so it should be no surprise that it's also the most prominent structure on my layout. This magnificent neoclassical brick building first opened in 1910. In 1997, Amtrak turned the station over to the Union Pacific when it discontinued its passenger service across southern Wyoming. David built the station for me using paper and cardstock. That may be hard to believe because it looks so sturdy. I, for one, am totally amazed that it's even possible to make something that looks this good out of paper. If you tap on it anywhere, it doesn't sound like paper either, but it is, and it's very lightweight. By the way, I'm going to post a link to David's YouTube channel down below. Overall, the station measures 12 inches long and 3 inches deep. David says it should have been twice that size to be in scale, but then it never would have fit on my layout. The 4 columns are the only part of the station made of plastic. David had no architectural plans to work from, just photos downloaded from Google Images. He said the hardest part of this project was compressing it to fit the space I had for it on my layout. It had to be compressed while still retaining the distinctive features of the prototype. As he was building the station, David told me we would have to settle for a representation, not an exact replica. Of course, all we ever try to do in model railroading is create a convincing representation of the real thing. The model that David built certainly looks like the prototype. To me, the proportions are perfect and I'm very pleased with it. While David was working on the station, I stayed busy with other projects on my layout. For example, I scenicked the grassy area on the left or western side of the station. Here I carefully selected a late summer color of turf. I installed a walk and an iron fence, and I planted a couple of JTT cedar trees. I did all of this to create something looking like the prototype. If you're wondering why I might be so excited about planting a couple of trees here, it's because these were the first trees I planted on my layout, and there won't be many more of them since I'm building a desert layout. Here on the right, you can see a bit of the mock-up of the station that I built in mid-2016. The station consists of 3 sections. The center section is where passenger services were located on the prototype. These included a ticket office, baggage check room, and waiting area. There were offices on the 2nd floor. Baggage and freight facilities were located in the east wing, and a dining room in the west wing. As for the crow's nest, I understand it was added to the station sometime in the late 1940s, perhaps as some kind of control tower, though I'm not really sure about that. Amtrak's Pioneer route is shown here by the red line. It ran 3 times a week from Chicago to Denver, then north to Cheyenne and across southern Wyoming to Ogden, Utah, before turning northwest to Seattle. There were 6 station stops in Wyoming, one of which was Green River. But in May 1997, Amtrak discontinued its Pioneer route. That was almost 20 years ago. When Amtrak discontinued its Pioneer route, Wyoming became one of only 2 states in the 48 contiguous states not served by Amtrak, the other being South Dakota. As I mentioned before, Amtrak subsequently turned its station in Green River over to the Union Pacific. It turned other stations along the route over to local communities who converted them into museums and event centers. That's what happened, for example, over here in Evanston, some 90 miles west of Green River. Originally, I didn't plan to run passenger trains on my layout. For one thing, I was concerned about the overhang of long passenger cars on the curves. For another, Amtrak no longer runs trains through the area I'm modeling. But I've changed my mind, and there are 2 ways I can justify passenger trains on my layout. 1. When the main route through Colorado is closed for maintenance and repairs, Amtrak does reroute its trains through southern Wyoming temporarily. Unfortunately, I understand that when Amtrak does this, it doesn't make any station stops along the way except at Green River for a crew change, giving passengers a chance to get off the train briefly. Or 2, I could say that Amtrak has restored its passenger service across southern Wyoming as a result of popular demand. In any case, on December 25th, Christmas Day, I went ahead and ordered a Cato P42 Amtrak diesel and a set of Superliner cars. It has arrived, and here it is on my layout. I've installed a TCS decoder in the P42, but unfortunately I can't run it yet because the motor tabs aren't making good enough contact with the decoder. So I'm going to have to do some soldering before I can run it. As it turns out, this is a common problem with the P42. Here the Amtrak train has stopped at Green River for a crew change. So in this video, I've tried to provide a little more information about the station and my plans to inaugurate passenger service on my layout. As always, thanks for watching. Keep on watching because I have a lot of ideas for more videos. And keep on running your trains because this really is the world's greatest hobby.